Hi guys, I'm going to start now. Welcome to my podcast, which is called Ethical Hacking Guests and Wholesomeness. And I wanted to start with a disclaimer. I changed the slide, so less text now. So we are not doing anything suspicious here. We're just sharing knowledge, talking about ethical hacking, cybersecurity, and how to enter the field. And yeah, hopefully someone will feel like inspired and want to join us in here. And why am I here? Also, like a bit shorter. So, uh, who I am? I'm a penetration tester, and yeah, I'm called Woman in Red right now. I was called Wonder Woman of Cyber because of my picture on LinkedIn that I had before, but now it's like something else because I don't want to steal anyone's uh, yeah name. It doesn't belong to me. It belongs to a company. And yeah, this is my podcast. I'm a host of this podcast, and I'm trying to read the slide, and the letters are tiny. That's why I am not super fluent. But okay, I'm certified cover access specialist, physical auditor, and elicitation specialist, and I have some awards as well. But why am I here? To share with the community people that are important to me, important to the community, that are like super impressive, knowledgeable, and are willing to share their knowledge with others. And also like because I was terrified of public speaking, so this is my practice to not be terrified of public speaking. So I just throw myself into the fire, and now I'm trying not to be anxious and stressed. So this is me. Hope I'm doing a good job here. And so yeah, big screen. Today I didn't I didn't okay, this is Corey Han. He's a continuous penetration tester, testing lead at Black Hills Information Security. I hope I said it correctly. And
Yep.
welcome. Uh,
Thank you.
just tell me, guys, can you hear him? Because that's like,
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? I'm
yeah,
here.
okay. So that was like this most stressful part because it's kind of like my uh, yeah, I'm not proud of this, but my sound doesn't work at the beginning. So, but I I guess I figured it out this time. So yay! But I
Yay.
wanted to ask you if you could introduce yourself to everyone and yeah, tell something
Sure.
about you.
Yeah. So, like Dorota said, my name's Corey Ham. I am a penetration tester at Black Hills. Right now, I'm running the continuous pen testing service we have at Black Hills, which we call the ANTISOC. And yeah, it's been fun. I've worked at Black Hills for about 4 years now. Before that, I worked for Optiv, which is like a large penetration testing company. Um, I've been in cybersecurity for about 10 years. I started basically straight out of college. I got a job as a pen tester. So I've pretty much just been a pen tester my whole career, which I mean, you can imagine how fun and terrible that is at the same time. But yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Okay, I wanted to ask yeah, a different question, but maybe let's start from the beginning. Can you like you already introduce yourself to everyone, but can you tell us like who is Corey, what makes him smile, and in other words, what sparks joy for you? Like who are you as a person?
Sure. Yeah. So, like a lot of people, I think I'm almost more passionate about my hobbies and my personal life than I am about work. I definitely love work. I think I had the same experience a lot of people do as pen testers, which is like, oh, this is my dream job. I can't believe I'm getting paid to hack. And then I went way too deep into it and spent way too much time doing it and kind of made it my whole life. And then over the course of my career, I kind of had to step back and be like, okay, what else do I care about? What other than work, what do I like? Um, which really, I think for me, the main thing is just the outdoors, just being outside, being in uh, green spaces in the woods or on mountains or just around the world. I like to travel. And then, of course, the big one is I love cats. So, my partner and I, we foster cats, and so We're always having some kittens around and some moms and other babies and things, and so it's really fun to and rewarding to kind of, I mean, usually they're sick, so we have to nurse them back to health and then to adopt them out. We've actually been doing it for I think 4 years now, and we've adopted out over like 80 cats. So we've had way too many cats in our house, but yeah, that's kind of what makes me happy. I also like to cook. Um, in general, I'm one of those people who's interested in everything. So it's like any new topic, I'm like, ooh, what's this? Teach me about something I've never done, and then I get kind of into it, and maybe it becomes a thing I enjoy long term, or maybe I just get over it. But I do, really, the outdoors and cats and that kind of stuff is really what makes me happy, sparks joy. What about you? What
Yeah.
sparks joy? I know you have cats too, Dorota. So tell me about
Yeah,
your.
yeah, that's I got really like that was like my key word that cats like cats. So yeah,
Mhm.
I have two cats, a black Maine and a gray, a bit overweight British short hair, and they are like the joy of my life, I would say. And
Mhm.
another thing that I really love is like actually pen testing, but now I'm just going through some. Yeah. Like thinking like what else do I love, you know, like you did.
Yeah.
So because
Yeah.
I made it like my whole life, it was like kind of like an obsession, but now yeah, it's like other things are fun too. Like I learned, for example, to play on an electric guitar. I always
Nice.
liked the rock music and like the guitar solos, and I thought, oh, that would be really cool to actually learn to play one of those like favorite solos, you know. So that's one of the things. But I have a lot, and now I'm like trying to yeah learn sports that I never tried. And like for example, snowboarding is something that I'm trying. I fall a lot, but at first I was really scared of falling. Same, I'm learning figure skating, so I was scared of falling. But then I figured, okay, my butt is like a good cushion, and it's not that scary. And it's actually when I fall, I just laugh, and it's like I just get up and like do this, and we try again. So I guess that's like part of my. I have this never give up attitude, so it's kind of like a good thing, but not always. Sometimes I just don't know where to like, leave it and go to something else. But I can talk about myself a long time, but it's actually
Sure.
a podcast for you, so I will wrap it up
Sure.
with that, I guess. But yeah, I think I have a lot in common with you. So but cats, definitely, and I like cycling and I like food, so
Oh yeah.
that's like
I didn't mention that, but I'm a big cyclist as well. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so okay, that was good, I guess. And my next question would be, can you share a moment in your career that made you realize, yep, that this is what I'm meant to do?
It's a good question. There's not really a specific moment for me. It was kind of just a feeling of, so just to give you a little bit of background as far as how I got into cybersecurity, which is probably another one of your questions, right? I so in college, which university for those international, I found some extracurricular activities. So in the U.S. we have something called cyber defense or collegiate cyber defense competition, and there's also one called collegiate pen testing competition. So there's a couple of like extracurricular. I mean, they're sports, right? Like sports in air quotes. They're not really sports, but they're competitive events where you kind of put together a team as a university and go out and compete against other universities. Um, so I kind of got pulled into that and went to conferences and things to do that competition. And in the process, just kind of met people in cybersecurity and realized, hold on, this is something you can get paid to do, to just hack things. Um, I think that was really the moment for me of, wow, this is what I want to do. Because ever since I was young, I've always been curious and fascinated about how things work. Like, taking apart radios or taking apart computers or taking apart pretty much everything I could take apart without getting in trouble. And so yeah, it was fun to kind of do the same thing with corporate networks and with web applications and anything cybersecurity related. You're kind of just taking things apart, like, how does this work? How does it, what makes it work? What what bad decisions did the designers make when they built this that we can take advantage of, right? Um, but yeah, I mean, I would say like in the modern day, like these days, I think what really makes me happy and what makes me tick is keeping my companies, the people that pay us to do what we do, making sure that they're not getting hacked and making and feeling like if a ransomware threat actor or whoever it is calls up this company and tries to hack them, that they're going to be safe because we've already helped them to defend against that kind of stuff and helped simulate it, if that makes sense. So that's really what makes me happy now is feeling like I'm having an impact, protecting, people from the threat actors and hackers of the world. Makes me feel kind of fulfilled. Obviously, it helps when the people you're protecting are people who you really like and who our customers at Black Hills are typically some of my favorite people around. So it's extra nice that um, we don't have to defend evil companies or whatever. But yeah, that's kind of what makes me uh, what makes me feel like this is the right place for me. Is I feel like I can do things that are challenging and also feel good doing it and feel like I'm having an impact.
I remembered the E Corp from Mr. Robot when you mentioned the evil companies. So, okay.
Yeah.
And my next question would be like a bit connected to the one that I already asked. And you already know that I'm going to ask it. What inspired you to become a cybersecurity professional? You answered a bit already, but how did your career path lead you to becoming a continuous pen testing lead? That's like a complicated question, but
Sure. I mean, to be honest, it's not. I don't want to make it sound too altruistic. Truthfully, like part of what influenced me is money. Um, like it's a good industry to be in, right? And not just money, but career, career safety and security, right? Like cybersecurity is a growing field. It's a pretty safe bet to get into, right? As far as like, if you get into making, I don't know, some product, it's like, well, maybe this will be around in 50 years, maybe it won't, who knows. So part of it for me was just the career opportunities are really good. It's a growing industry, and I kind of feel like um, it's changing so fast and it evolves so quickly that for me that kind of plays to my strengths. I like um I do better in an environment that changes quickly versus an environment that's kind of fixed and stable. I kind of get bored with stability. I'm like, all right, we did it this way, maybe we should do it a different way. And everyone, in some industries they might be like, well, if you're a doctor and you're like, what if we do it in a different way, they're like, don't do that, right? Like if don't don't change things that are safe. And there are certain industries where that wouldn't really be good, but in cybersecurity, change is kind of part of it, and it's positive for that. um, so I guess for me, I kind of just followed the path of trying to do new things and trying to follow the change. Specifically with continuous pen testing, it's kind of how I see it is it's the next evolution of pen testing, right? Like, obviously, I've been a pen tester for a long time. Things haven't changed that much. I mean, the defensive stuff has changed, right? We went from like no EDR, now we have EDR, which makes things different and more challenging. But I mean, a pen test was the same now that it used to be in 2013 or whatever, 10 years ago when I started pen testing. So this is kind of, from my perspective, the next evolution of things, like doing things continuously, bringing in more technology and automation and things. Um, so that was an opportunity that I thought was really worth going after. I kind of see it like I'm almost running a startup, just using John Strand's wallet instead of my own. So, so yeah, I'm kind of just pursuing something new because it's kind of fun and different. So that's why I guess got ended up as continuous pen testing lead. Is like I had an idea and I've just been running with it, and so far no one has told me it's a bad idea. So I'm still going.
thank you for the answer. And next question is maybe a bit on the nose, but I think that way. That's why I wanted to ask a question. So, can you tell us about Black Hills and what it is that makes it special for you?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, Black Hills Information Security, BHIS, whatever you want to call it, um, is I mean, it's pretty simple. It's a pen testing company. We also have SOC. It's a pretty small company. It's based in South Dakota, which if you're not from the US, South Dakota is like the middle of nowhere of the US. It's totally just cows and nothing else. Um, so it's a pretty tight knit atmosphere, and that includes our community, right? Like we have sort of I would call it a small community, but it's not as small. But it's really just a place in cybersecurity that's intended to be. Are we allowed to swear on this show? Are we? What are the rules about swearing?
Uh, Maybe not that much, but if you want to, then I can remove it later for YouTube.
That's okay. I won't swear. So basically the community we have, and this goes into the company as well, is designed to be focused around kindness and focused around, you have wholesomeness there on your board behind you. It's not really focused so much on wholesomeness, but it is focused around kindness. It's about basically it's a company that tries to understand and um, operate under the rule that like we're better together, whether it's us and our other employees, like me working with another person, or if it's us and our customers, right? Like obviously we can't survive as a company without our customers, but it goes beyond just the business relationship and goes into kind of like a trust. I think security companies especially, you need to trust your pen tester. You need to trust that they're not going to break things, or you need to trust that they're not going to intentionally knock things over or steal things or whatever, right? So there has to be a trust there. And then likewise, we have to trust our customers you know, to first of all work with us and not be jerks to us. But second of all, also to, fix things and actually improve their security based on what we do. So long story short, Black Hills is a company that really is focused around creating an atmosphere of kindness between employees and also between our customers, and just having people around that we like to be around. Um, the kind of like origin of cybersecurity has a lot of um, adversarial kind of mean behavior, like stunt hacking, trying to prove you're better than someone, calling people noobs, saying, "Oh, you don't know anything. You don't know what you're doing." Like that whole atmosphere is kind of something we've tried to avoid. That sort of like, I'm better than you at hacking, get good, like you suck. Um, we don't like that, and so it's kind of we've created this sort of bubble in the universe where we try not to treat each other that way. So that's really for me what makes it special, is like the people I tend to work with, even customers, are just the nicest people and are just generally good people. And that, I think, it's crazy how it seems like it wouldn't be that big of a deal, but it makes a huge difference. Like to interact with people who are trying to be nice. Maybe they're not always nice, right? And no one's perfect, but they're trying their best to not insult you and not, you know, prove they're better than you and that kind of thing. So that's just nice. But yeah, that's a long answer, but that's really for me what that's like the answer to why Black Hills Information Security, is because it's just from the top down, that's the goal, right? It's about treating each other kindly and also doing cool stuff, right? It's about, if it's a culture of like the answer should be yes, right? Like whatever weird thing you want to do, the answer should be yes. It's like, oh, I want to try this weird thing. Okay, sure, yeah, go for it. Which I really like that as well. But and that kind of extends to our community. I mean, we have so many awesome community members, like people that just volunteer in our Discord or just hang out and contribute, and that's just so unique. I can't think of any other place on the internet that's quite like it. But yeah.
Uh, I have a question in the chat, but so I'm not sure if you can answer this one, but I will ask it so it's for you, like to decide, like assess if that's like a good question to answer. Is
Okay.
that okay? So
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that person is still in the chat. I think he just left, but he asked, so can you tell how do you investigate virtual phone numbers? Because nowadays there are not good service for them. There are no good services for them.
Investigate virtual phone numbers. What do you mean?
Yeah,
Like,
I don't actually know. And Like maybe he asked about details of engagements, like how do you get a phone number or how do you uh, investigate? I don't know.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure when it comes to investigating, I mean, that makes me think of like CTI or like collective threat intelligence. I know there are ways like APIs you can use to look up whether a number is a virtual phone number or if it's a on-premise phone number.
Hmm.
If you're talking about like how we get phone numbers for engagements, we typically use either Burner or we just use VoIP providers. We'll just excuse me, Burner is a mobile app, so you can just download it on your phone. You can allocate numbers in that application, and it works pretty well for this type of thing. You can even send text messages, receive text messages. I'm not sure if it's available internationally, but in the US, it's available and works pretty well. We also just use VoIP providers like Twilio or other, legitimate VoIP providers to allocate numbers as needed. So hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, I hope so too. So my next question was a bit connected to the one about Black Hills, because you at the beginning you mentioned anti-SOC, and so can you tell us what anti-SOC means and what? Yeah.
Yeah, so the relationship is supposed to be kind of like the antimatter and matter, right? They're two halves to create the universe. You have your SOC, which is Secure Operations Center. You have that's your blue team side. That's like your defenders, people who are watching logs, people who are actively doing things to protect the organization. Then you have your anti-SOC, which is the opposite of that. It's an operations center, but it's like a red team operations center. So it's like instead of trying to defend an organization, we're trying to attack an organization. But we're kind of using the same techniques and same tools in a lot of cases. We're scanning, we're collecting data, we're searching intelligence feeds and things like that. But instead of using that information to defend, we're using it to attack. So that's kind of the goal of the name is to show like they're kind of two halves, and you really should have both. You should have defenders and you should have attackers. To have a truly or secure organization, you need both of those two things.
Yeah, that's a great answer. And a great, also a great idea because I just see the SOC and like but like anti-SOC, that's something that I heard about first time. And I think it's like a really cool idea to have continuous pen testing and like, yeah,
Well, thanks.
like
You're a
you know
part of that.
both sides, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but it's like really cool experience because I used to work like when you have like only one week engagement, and yeah, it's like very repetitive, but now it's like you can do more things, and it's I think it's more fun that way. So okay, I just wanted
I
to share.
agree. Yeah, totally.
Okay, so my next question is, can you walk us through your typical day or week as a continuous pen testing lead, and how do you balance the technical aspects of your job with the leadership responsibilities?
Yeah. So, a week for me, probably like if we're breaking it down into 5 days. So, at least one day is spent just kind of doing project management stuff and kind of like organizing, doing administrative work. So like maybe let's say Monday, I come in and I meet with the team. I make sure I see what's going on, which a lot of that is just figuring out what active campaigns we're running, right? So like we have, let's say 50 clients, they're all doing different things at different times, so I have to figure out what those are and make sure that the right people are doing the right things. So some of it is project management. I would call that like 20% of my job. So let's say one day of the week. I would say another day of the week is kind of just reviewing other people's work. So looking at what hackers like you, Dorota, or other people have done, making sure it's up to spec, maybe going back to the drawing board. But there's a technical element to that, which is fun, which is okay, maybe you had a good new idea while you were doing that. Now I need to go take that idea and have everyone else do the same thing, right? So if you try something and I'm like, oh, this is a good idea, we should do this, I can send that out to everyone else. So there's a review aspect that's part of my job. That's like probably one day of the week. Um, I'd say another day of the week is probably client meetings, right? So I do a lot of meeting with clients, direct communications with clients, whether that's presenting results of penetration tests or getting information like scope, or just meeting with them to do status updates. um, so that's probably like, now we're on day 3. Day 4, I think would be maybe the last 2 days. So let's say Thursday and Friday of this fake week would be actually doing hacking work. So actually trying to either write tools. I would say half of it probably would be tool development, improving methodology, writing documentation, just kind of like sharing the knowledge that I have with everyone and trying to improve that. So like, um, developing tools, writing scripts, um, try attempting new techniques and things like that. And then I would say the last day is just trying to grind out actual hacking. So trying to do real attacks against clients, trying to either run a campaign on my own or with another person, actually trying to get my hands dirty on a regular basis so that I don't get too rusty. Because obviously, the more time you spend in leadership, the less time you spend hacking. And it can be tricky because your knowledge and skills kind of drift out of date over time. So that's always been a focus for me, and it really does make me happy to actually be able to hack and focus on things. That really goes a long way to keeping me sane. Like, I can't only do project management and meetings, or else I will go crazy. So I need that technical challenge to kind of keep my brain going.
Yeah, I understand that. And that sounds like a very busy week.
It is, but that's how it should be, right? It'd be boring if we just sat around waiting for things, you know?
Yeah. Okay. A, a bit question from a different barrel, as like Monty Python used to say. So, can you explain the concept of red teaming and penetration testing? How are those two approaches different?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I think the main difference is just in scope and rules of engagement. So scope, just to kind of like, let's approach this from a very basic perspective. So scope is in pen testing or in security. That's scope is what we call, what are we allowed to hack, right? So in a traditional pen test, you're allowed to hack a very specific subset of things. So let's say it's a traditional network penetration test, like an internal penetration test. Here's the network ranges. It's 192.168.1.0/24. That's what you're allowed to hack. If there's other stuff like our public website, that you're not allowed to hack that. So scope, and that's how it is for traditional pen test, is it's pretty restricted and locked down to a small piece. Um, with red teaming, it's kind of the opposite. It's designed to be open. It's designed to be, what's in scope is whatever is owned by the company. And that also should include more than just network ranges. It should include users, it should include phone numbers, social engineering. Pretty much everything should be in scope as far as what a company owns. And so that's a big difference, right? Um, the other thing is rules of engagement. So as I mentioned, uh, social engineering, like if I get a scope of internal network range and I go and call up the CEO and say, "Hi, I need admin access," that's social engineering. That wasn't supposed to be allowed, and now I've violated the rules of engagement. So the rules of engagement are typically with the pen test pretty restricted as far as what you're allowed to do. So probably not social engineering, probably not phishing or any kind of other attacks other than just traditional hacking. Um, but in a red team, that scope should be pretty wide open. So it should be like, you're allowed to do phishing, you're allowed to do social engineering, whatever attacks you kind of think might benefit the goals of the assessment. Um, the other thing, which I didn't really mention, but is just kind of a difference, is the approach is more focused with the red team. So it's like, instead of going after everything, you're trying to go after one specific thing, and you're kind of following the shortest path to get there versus going out and finding all the vulnerabilities. So a red team is not going to find every vulnerability. They're just going to find the most impactful vulnerabilities to get to the goal, if that makes sense. So it's kind of like a, if you're a programmer, it's like the difference between a depth first and a breadth first. It's like, do you go wide and identify everything, or do you go deep and identify one specific problem that an organization faces? So that's kind of from my perspective, the difference. Different people have different things. I mean, red teaming is like, it's such a weird term. What does it mean? I mean, no one really knows, right? Like, we'll figure it out as we go. But from my perspective, those are the differences, and kind of that's how I see it.
Yes, yeah, but actually I agree, and it's a great answer. And the next question is a bit related to what you already said. But how do you approach creating a red team plan, including identifying target areas, setting goals, and allocating resources? If that's something you could share.
Sure. I mean, so I'm going to talk from the perspective of an external red team because that's just been my career the whole time. A lot of times when people talk about red team, what they're actually referring to is employees of a company that are going after their own company. So I'm not going to talk about that. I don't have experience in that area. But from an external perspective, if you're hiring a company like Black Hills to do a red team for you, um, I think first you should define your goal, which if you don't have goals, that's okay. We have goals for you, like, compromise sensitive information, establish command and control, elevate privileges. Like there are like default goals, so to speak. But I think the most fun red team engagement is when you define, people call them the crown jewels. It's like, what are you going after? Say you're Coca Cola, as an example, and you have a secret recipe for Coca Cola. Your red team should be focused on any path an attacker could take to get to your secret recipe. So, as a company, part of a red team is sitting down and saying, what is our secret recipe? What is it that actually makes us tick? Because I can tell you, if some companies, if their website goes down, let's talk about one example, Amazon.com. If Amazon.com goes down, they can't make any money. So that's very important and impactful to them that their website works. But if it's a company like, I don't know, let's say a bank, if the website that lets me see my account goes down, I can still make money because I'm a bank, right? So it's fine. But if the ability to send money goes down, okay, now there's a problem because I'm a bank. And if I can't send money, I can't make money. And, so it just depends on the business. I think part of the first step of a red team should be sitting down and saying, what are we telling these red teamers to go after? Um, After you do that, I think it's just about figuring out how you're going to do that, how long the engagement's going to be, what you want to be in scope. So let's say in this hypothetical scenario of going after the secret recipe, um, how many people have access to that recipe? If it's 100 people, maybe we put all those people in scope for social engineering. If it's the whole company, okay, we probably don't need to define a specific scope. And then you kind of work your way backwards from there to come up with the plan. Obviously, in the best case scenario, you're collaborating with your third party team who's going to do the testing and being like, hey, is this a good idea? Is this a bad idea? How do you want to approach this? Um, and then I think the last step would be to get approval for some of this stuff, to get pre-approved from from leadership, your executives, people that are actually going to be okay with this, making sure they understand. And I think it's good to over promise, under deliver. You know what I mean? Like you should be like, hey, they're going to call you at 5 p.m. on a Friday. Are you okay with that? Oh, hey, they might break stuff. Is that okay? I think we try not to break stuff, but I think it's good to set the expectation with leadership that like this is part of it. They might break stuff, they might get in trouble, they might get detected, they might get quarantined, people's accounts might get locked out or that kind of thing, just to kind of understand the impact. So that's part of it too, is getting that sort of approval. And then of course, taking that whatever you got and sending that back to the team who's going to actually be doing the red team. So saying, you're approved for this. You're absolutely not approved for this. This is out of scope. This is in scope. And by the way, here's how we're going to approach it. So that to me is like an ideal red team. Um, when a customer comes to us and says, here's a document I wrote that has the entire rules of engagement, the goals, all that stuff, I'm just like, thank you. You are amazing. So we can work without it, but I think if you're sitting down to do it, that's like really the best way you can. So.
So, but what is the typical structure of the red team engagement? Do you have like a set format, or do you adapt to each specific mission? I think you adapt, but maybe yeah. What's the answer?
Yeah, I mean, I think like, to use again like cybersecurity terms, every red team should have like kind of a kill chain approach of like a phases you're going to follow that basically that have set times and set goals. So like it's always good to start out with recon, right? Like that's the first phase of any engagement. You have to like figure out what does the company do, what who works there, um, what kind of weaknesses do they have, all that good stuff, right? Like recon and perimeter assessments. And then I think you focus on initial access, right? So you're trying to get your way into that organization. Typically, that could be through phishing, social engineering, maybe physical stuff, or it might just be simulated through an assumed compromise, right? To have someone intentionally compromise themselves and then move from there. All of these phases have to be time boxed, right? So in a hypothetical scenario, let's say we have a month, 4 weeks for a red team. Maybe the half of the first week could be recon, and then maybe another week after that could be initial access. But you wouldn't spend 4 weeks fishing, not succeed, and then be like, oh, okay, well, there's your red team report, right? So at each individual step, you have to say, okay, we tried this, we didn't succeed, or maybe we did. We're going to move to the next phase. So, after initial access, you could call it post exploitation, you could call it lateral movement. There's a bunch of, whatever framework you want to follow, but things like now, let's say you succeeded, you're on an endpoint. You need to move from there. You need to move laterally. You need to enumerate the environment. What programs are they running? Um, and then try to accomplish the goals, right? So if it's the Coca-Cola scenario I was talking about, we're going after that secret recipe. We landed on a plant manager's workstation. Okay, does this plant manager have access to the secret recipe? If so, good job. The red team's done. We did it. If not, we need to keep going and find someone who does have access. Is there a list of people who has access? Where do we get that? Maybe it's in the network, or maybe it's on the share, or maybe it's in Confluence, or wherever that's stored. And then kind of again continuing until you reach the goal. So um, a big part of it also is like detections, right? You're going to get detected eventually, but taking note of when that occurs in the engagement is really important. And then obviously, like you have the last phase would just be kind of like cleanup and data exfiltration, or simulating data exfiltration and that kind of stuff, just being like, okay, we got the secret recipe, how do we get it out of the environment, how do we tell the client, reporting, right? Like you have to explain how you did it and also trace your steps along the way. So that's baked into it the whole time, is like maybe 25% of your time would be spent on reporting, and that's a lot, right? That's the difference between us and hackers. The difference between a pen tester and a hacker is a pen tester writes it down, right? It's it's kind of like that, like, I don't know if you ever watched the TV show Mythbusters, but it was like the difference between science and messing around is science writes it down, right? Like it's basically the same thing for pen testing. So yeah.
Thanks you. And what can you tell us? What's the biggest challenge you face when conducting a red team engagement? Are there any common pitfalls or mistakes you've seen others make?
It's a good question. I would say nowadays the hardest thing that you're going to encounter is just security tools. Red teaming has gotten really hard because there's security tools at every level in an environment, right? So we're talking about recon. There's brand monitoring tools that tell you when someone registers a domain with your name in it. There's even tools that will detect like scanning and things like that before they even go live. Now, can you do anything about that? Not really, but at least it gives you a tip off that something's happening. Um, the same thing happens with initial access. So now there's really good email filtering solutions. You can't just send fishes as easily as you used to be able to. Now, there's still ways to send fishes, of course, but there's security tools in the way. The same thing applies to endpoints like workstations and stuff. Now there's security tools that are going to block you, prevent you. Um, it's kind of if you think about it, it's actually become a little bit um, asymmetric, you know what I mean? So like the size of a company who's defending and the size of a company who's attacking, think about a company like CrowdStrike, the most popular EDR. They have hundreds of millions of dollars, right? They're a huge company with thousands and thousands of employees. Meanwhile, we hackers are just like, I don't know, we have like a couple hundred people, and definitely not $100 million. So we kind of have to live in the edges. We have to live in the shadows and kind of survive based on what's allowed. But that's, I think, the biggest challenge in red teaming today is that at every step of the process, whether it's recon, initial access, post exploitation, persistence, exfiltration, whatever it is, there's a security product there that's trying to trip you up. Um, I think in the modern era, we kind of see that as a feature. We kind of see that as a positive. Like getting detected and getting blocked is part of the engagement. And that's a good thing. Like when companies say, "Ha, we caught you," I'm like, "Good job. Awesome." Like, I'm glad. I would be terrified if I did a whole red team without being detected. Like, that would be the scariest thing ever. If you did an entire red team engagement and you heard nothing from the client, you'd be like, risk score is critical. You guys are screwed. Like um you can't imagine an organization that just never detects a red team. But I mean, I'm sure it happens, but it's one of those things like I would feel better if they detected the red team versus if they didn't, me personally.
So I just had like this uh, uh, thought in my mind, so I will share it. I hope that's not I don't know. So,
Share it.
if you do a physical pen test engagement, and sometimes on the door you have like a key box when you have to punch your pin and then scan your card, but sometimes the doors, the device is on or like not secure, so you can already shim it. So can you like evade the all the pin and like card scanning? So not doing the hard stuff if you don't have the combinations, but just shim the door and you're in. So is there like a way that you could evade those programs that you mentioned that are on every stage of the engagement?
Yes, there
Like
are
people
some
are
ways.
trying
So
that,
like
right?
yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a good mindset to have of like instead of just walking through the door, can I go around it? Can I go under it? Can I, like that's a good mindset to have. I think in a lot of organizations, the shim is the cloud. A lot of organizations don't have good visibility of their cloud environment. So if instead of going after a workstation, you just go after the cloud. So you pull a token, you pull an API key, and you just start poking around there. A lot of organizations won't detect that because they don't have great awareness. It's like the camera's pointed in this direction, not on this big door that no one ever looks at. Um, the other one is just trying to avoid the endpoint tools specifically. So really, I think a lot of organizations they tend to over focus on endpoint controls. So like their EDR tool or whatever their crown, main tool is, if it isn't detected in that, they're not going to see it. So you can kind of like we're talking about specifically, we're talking about like trying to hack things on the network. So one of the most common examples of this would be either deploying a drop device or a Kali implant or some other device. It could even be like we're talking about cloud stuff. It could even be a virtual machine that you create within the environment, um, within the cloud environment that's then domain joined or accessed on the domain. Basically, any system you can use that doesn't have that endpoint security suite on it is going to be way less likely to get detected versus a system that's fully has the full endpoint security suite. So in some environments, that could be a Linux system, it could be a Mac system. Defenders tend to over focus on Windows. So if you can avoid Windows, you might be able to avoid endpoint security tools altogether. Um, so yeah, those are some tricks. But again, figuring that out takes a lot of work. And it's pretty difficult to do it the first time without getting detected. It's pretty difficult to shim the door when there's cameras on the door and a guy standing at the door and you know what I mean? So it's like it is possible, but it's hard to do like perfectly the first time, in my opinion at least.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. Thank you. My next question is like a bit different barrel again. So, can you share a particularly memorable or challenging experience from your time as a red team lead? Not kind of not red team, but continuous pen testing lead. What did you learn
Sure.
from it?
Yeah, I don't have like a specific story. Um But I think that the most difficult scenarios we've been in, most people have been in, is when um, I think there's two scenarios that are really scary. One scenario is you broke something. So like a classic example, this would be account lockouts on Active Directory. Um, those have been I've been in those scenarios before where hypothetically, let's say it's a hospital and you did a password guessing campaign with something like Kerberoot or something, and you've locked out all the accounts at this hospital and they can't use their computers at all. I think those are the most tricky, challenging scenarios to be in as a pen tester is when a company's going through something, you may or may not be the cause. Figuring out how to determine whether you are the cause and how they're going to fix that. Those are the toughest scenarios I think you're in as a pen tester. Um, the other one that's really scary is when you compromise an organization and you discover evidence that they've already been compromised. So let's say you externally compromise a web app and then you discover a backdoor or a web shell that someone else put there, and then you have to figure out with the customer, hey, what's our stuff, what's the real attacker stuff. You should probably take the system down and have it analyzed for forensics. Like, you should probably ship this off to an expert. um, those are the two really tricky scenarios that I've been in personally, is like when things get real. The other one that's kind of traumatic, at least for me, is when our clients get hacked for real. So, like, when a company gets breached that's a client, it's really hard for me personally to be like, well, I feel terrible because we should have found this, right? But also understanding that pen testers are like doctors. If we tell someone's nothing wrong, they're like, cool, nothing's wrong, I'm good. If we tell them that they're gonna die, that's also not good. Like, it's about prioritizing like what is gonna kill you tomorrow versus what's gonna kill you in 30 years. So it's kind of, for me, it's part of it is understanding, well, pen testers can't find everything. That's just part of the nature of what we do. But also trying to balance that with like, okay, well, if a company gets hacked, how do we take that, learn from it, improve our procedures, and make sure that we can help, prevent that in the future. So I guess those are the tough scenarios I've personally been in. Um, and obviously there's solutions for all those scenarios, right? Like keeping really good notes, making sure you track things accurately, making sure your tool configurations are good before you run them. Like there's ways of preventing some of this stuff, but it's also just understanding in your, personal life that like you can't be everything to everyone. You can't do everything for everyone. Things are going to happen and you have to just accept that and try to, process it and move on.
Thank you. That's like that's a very good answer and very, yeah. You're a very knowledgeable person, so I'm really glad that you agreed to come on my podcast
I
and
don't know
share
anything.
it.
I'm just here to mansplain things. It's fine.
So I now have only like questions that are a bit relaxed and like, yeah, more like general. So one of them is, how do you stay up to date with the latest developments and trends in the field of cybersecurity?
That's a good question. So, me personally, I we do a cybersecurity news podcast at Black Hills, and that is how I stay up to date. It's actually really amazing on our Discord server. We have people that submit news articles to us. So we literally have like on Discord an InfoSec news channel that I'll hang out in. Community members will submit articles, and I'll kind of just read through them. And then we actually talk about the most interesting ones on the news. And so that is personally how I stay up to date. Um, that's kind of a weird answer. I don't use Twitter. I don't use any social media apps of any kind. So I kind of rely on either people who do or organizations that report things in the news to kind of stay up to date. So that's me personally. I also kind of have some, I'm lucky, but I have community members, that people that I know and talk to try to stay up to date, people who I trust, mentors and other just people, to talk through like tactics and what's working, what's not working. A lot of those people work for competing firms, like people not that don't work for Black Hills, but work for similar pen testing firms. Um, that's me personally. I just have my personal relationships that I have with people, and then I have the cybersecurity news show. But yeah, that's about it. I'm not. I try not to follow too closely because it's pretty stressful to try to do that.
Yeah, but actually, that's like a very usually people say, "Oh, I just read Twitter and this and this." I actually kind of like live on LinkedIn, so a lot of my information is from there because people share posts. And I also have like emails that I'm signed up for, like emails that come to me with new news. So that's how I do it. But
Nice.
that's actually a very good point that you just mentioned, that it's important to have a community, to network with people, to have like a group of people that with shared interests and knowledge. So that's, I think that's really important. Also, like how to get a job in cybersecurity is just have to network, because some of the jobs are just like, oh, we are looking for someone. We know that you're good. Like maybe you want to work for us. Like not really advertise, but a bit on the like on the back.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. Personal connections, totally.
yeah. Okay, so Uh, two of questions that are like pretty basic. I should probably ask them in the beginning, but how to enter cybersecurity? Do you have any advice? And another, a bit connected, is what is your ideal future career path? If you can share that, or you want to.
Sure. Yeah. So, how to enter cybersecurity? I think, as you know, we've kind of been talking about, it's just having a community that you're a part of, whether it's your local, like where you physically live in the world, getting involved with your, I mean, in the US we have b-sides, b-side security conferences. They're typically smaller than your, you know, larger conferences like DEF CON or Black Hat, and they're typically pretty tight-knit communities. You can also get involved with, like in the US there's ISAC, which is like specific industry, law enforcement associated groups of like all the healthcare organizations are banding together to try to prevent themselves from getting hacked. So basically, trying to get involved with the security community, I really would advise, as much as you can, doing it in person, doing something that is physical, that is face to face connections. It just goes a lot longer way than just being a random name on GitHub or on the internet or on HackerOne or whatever. Um, and so I think that's a big step. The other thing is just, um, try to turn your job into a security job, whatever it is. I think most people are who are interested in security are typically in IT related roles, right? So if you're a database administrator or a programmer or whatever it is, you can incorporate security into your normal everyday job and you can kind of stretch into that role every day. So kind of going to your leadership, going to your boss or whoever it is and saying like, "Hey, I want to focus on security. How can I do that in my current role? Like, is there anything we need security wise?" Because a lot of the times security is a function of both security and IT. It's not just security. So it's blended. And so I think like if you have a current job, trying to advocate for more security parts of your job and kind of just asking around, how can I help with security stuff? Um, as far as like specific, now you actually want to get a job, um, following, I think, the Black Hills Discord has job boards. Whatever local community you've gotten involved with should have job postings and things like that where you can kind of network with people and say like, what do you have any openings? Are you looking for a job? So yeah, I mean, really just getting your foot in the door anywhere is better than nothing, right? Like that's that like something is better than nothing no matter what it is. Um, because once you get your first security job, the next one's going to be easier. The next one's going to be easier. It's like you're kind of climbing that ladder where each step of the way, the first step is always the hardest. Once you get that first foot in the door, it's going to be a lot easier. Um, as far as my career plan, my career goals, I can be very transparent about this. My personal goal is to build this continuous pen testing practice that we have going at Black Hills into something that can be self sustaining and self sufficient, and then just wander off into the woods and never be heard from again. That's kind of my goal. I mean, as far as when that will happen, I don't know, but I kind of see myself as this is my kind of my life work. I want to finish it up, make it cool, make it awesome, and then hopefully just like be like, okay, good luck, and kind of just like walk away. So, as far as what I would do next, I mean, I have no idea. Maybe, maybe I'll change careers. Maybe I'll not. I won't. I mean, who knows? But my plan right now is just to stay where I'm at. Really make this into. Um, I'm already learning and growing so much and where I'm at that I don't have plans to change. But really, my goal is just to kind of build something that's relatively stable and self-sustaining that doesn't stress me out, where I'm happy, and then just kind of live my life, focus on my hobbies, focus on my family, focus on other things, and kind of have work just be something that I really enjoy and something that I get a lot from, but it isn't stressing me out and taking up my whole life. And you know what I mean? So that's really my career goal, is to have it be pretty much the way it is, which is a stable thing, but not my entire life.
I kind of see it like you're growing a plant from like a seedling, and then it grows into a beautiful oak, for example, and you just sit there in the shade, and drink, so.
Hopefully. Hopefully, but then, hopefully lightning doesn't strike or anything. Yeah, exact. That totally. Yeah, that's the goal. Build what I have into something that makes sense and then kind of just let it exist.
Nice. That's a good plan to have, I think. Okay. I'm a bit close enough, running out of questions. So my next one would be, if you could go back in time and give your younger self a piece of advice about security, what would it be? But if or about security or about anything in life. So yeah.
Sure. All right, here's the advice. And this is, I've actually mentioned this before, but don't run Linux on your main workstation. No, I'm just kidding. Um, but I mean, I think the advice I would have is just be nice to people, be kind to people. I've generally done a good job of doing that. I'm not going to say that like I've always been that, but in cybersecurity, we're a pretty small and tight knit community. I've even had clients at Black Hills that hired me 10 years later at two different companies and been like, I remember you. And that, if I had treated those people poorly, wouldn't they remember how mean I was, or how, so just treating people nicely and being nice, that returns back to you. It costs you nothing to be nice to people. And it gets you, I think, a lot back. um, the other thing I would say is to understand the work life balance thing from the very beginning. I've kind of built myself into a point of where I feel like I have a pretty good work life balance and I don't get burned out. But one of the biggest issues that cybersecurity has is we burn out people. Cybersecurity as an industry is super focused around. Um, it's a stressful industry to be a part of, and it can be very burnout inducing for people. So I think having that um, from the beginning, and actually, when I started at Black Hills in 2021, I did a webcast on burnout, and it definitely was like, at the time, it was like my own. Um, I want to say catharsis, but just it was like my own way of kind of being like, this is what I need to do, but I'm like saying it in a public way, right? To be like, this is how you should do it, and I'm like, meanwhile, trying to follow what I'm actually saying, right? Um, so I think like from the beginning is like, be kind to people and also take care of yourself. Like, take time off, take, compartmentalize your work schedule, have a consistent sleep schedule, try to have hobbies that take you away from the computer, that get you out of your house, that get you out of your office, or, whatever space you work in, and kind of like have something that kind of counterbalances the work we do with computers. But that's pretty much it, is like, take care of yourself and be nice to other people from the very beginning. Those things are going to pay dividends in your career. I think that's the advice I would give myself.
Yeah, that is an amazing advice, actually. And taking care of yourself is actually very important because, I I mean, you cannot run on empty gas tank.
No, you
How
can't.
do you say that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
that's, you're right. Yeah,
yeah,
you
so
nailed it.
if you're empty, then how can you help others? So you have to take care of yourself first, and then yeah, I learned that pretty late in life. So, but I better late than never, I guess. And
Yeah,
also like
totally. I
with
mean, it's a process.
having the hobbies, because I used to be very obsessed about cyber and learning from like 8 a.m. till 10 p.m. and like doing labs and stuff for like a year.
Yeah.
And then I just like didn't feel like I want to open Kali Linux anymore. So you have to find like hobbies and go outside and like meet people, have nice food, and like I don't know, not only grind and like be like this hacking.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I think the the journey is the destination, right? Like you should be happy along the way. There's never going to be a point in your career where like you've made it and everything changes. It's always just going to be building and building and building on what you have. And so if you've been building on a bunch of garbage and have something really unsustainable, you're going to be expected to keep that going, right? So it's about kind of building steps that take you to a place where you feel like you're healthy as a person.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you for sharing that because I think that's very important for people to realize that actually grind culture is not very healthy. So yeah.
No,
Uh,
it's not. I mean, if that, and I mean, again, though, whatever motivates you. If watching videos of people working for 24 hours straight motivates you, then whatever. But just know that like that isn't healthy long term, and you will have to deal with the repercussions of that. If you're willing to do that, just if you have a plan, like I'm going to work really hard for 5 years and then retire, okay, great. But you can't do that forever. Just know that.
do you have any stories that you can share about hacking related, funny or surprising stuff, or just
Funny or
unforgettable? We like stories
uh,
here, so
yeah, I mean, I think my career, I think the coolest hacking experience I ever had was we were hacking a company. It was a privately owned company, but it's a very large company, and we were doing a red team assessment. This is me and an ex coworker of mine, and we were on. It was a combination of a red team assessment, remote, so a remote red team, and then it was like a I don't know 3 weeks, and then 2 weeks of it were on site. So it was like a combination of a red team and a physical. And basically, the long story short is we did so well on the remote red team that we actually compromised their physical access control systems. So we're actually in their badging system. And we were actually able to, when we were doing the physical assessment, we were actually able to create badges for ourselves using the
wow.
access system. So we actually, like, in the system, we could provision our badges before we even went on site. And so we just hacked them so hard that when we got there, we just walked in the front door and badged in, and it was like access granted. And that I think was the most like coolest story of how my coolest red team experience of all time was um we did that during business hours. We walked in the front door, walked around a little bit, but then we came back. Of course, we gave our badges 24/7 access, right? So we came back later and then also walked around. This is back in the days of like bash bunnies and rubber duckies. So like, we were just plugging USBs into things, getting it was also in the days of PowerShell one-liners, which is like a C2 payload that just would always work. So it was like you plug in your ducky, it does a PowerShell one-liner, and then it just like you have just shell after shell after shell and all these unlocked computers. That was to me like the one of the coolest engagements I've done. And that was a really, it's like proof that if you hack well enough remotely, you can do the physical stuff like it's a breeze, right? So we didn't have to do any kind of pretexting, social engineering. We did clone a few badges just to prove that we could, but we didn't feel the need to do much because we had already gained access. So that was the one of the cooler engagements I've done. Um, but yeah, I mean that's I would say that's like my peak red team experiences. Actually physically compromising or compromising the physical badging system, creating yourself a valid badge, and then just walking in the front door like you own the place. It's a pretty unique experience for sure.
Yeah, it must be very satisfying.
Yes, it was. We were in the hotel. Of course, like this is the part you don't tell is like, of course, it took us like 4 tries to get the badges working properly because like this is all like hid stuff. So it's like the facility code was wrong, and then we had to change that. So we had to like match the facility code on a bat. It was like it took us like 4 tries, but we don't tell that part of the story. We in the fictionalized version, we just walked in and it worked perfectly. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, like in the movie Slow Mo.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so three last questions. Can you share what's your favorite hacker themed movie or TV show?
I mean, I gotta go Hackers. 1990 whatever, 1997 maybe? I don't know. That's my favorite. Um, it's just so good. I love the music. I love the themes. It's 1995. Um, I mean, it's got Angelina Jolie, it's got Johnny Lee Miller. It's just it's to me, it's I've watched it so many times and it's so funny and canon and like I love the themes. I love the 90s part of it because I'm a 90s kid. Um, I like how it's just so silly. Like the hacking isn't trying to be accurate in any way, shape, or form. Like it's all, garbage files and hilarious graphical interfaces that are so inaccurate. Um, Jolt Cola and I mean, even just the music I love. So that's my personal fave. I've watched it way too many times. Um, and I'm a big fan of it. But yeah,
I
that's my
think it's like
choice.
a good example of like hacker culture. Like maybe it was a bit, yeah, they overdid it a bit, but it was like very cool movie. I think
Totally.
that
Yeah,
not
Mr.
not
Robot
very.
is like Mr. Robot is a close second for me, but it's like too realistic. It just feels like I'm watching myself go to work.
Yeah,
So it's not very, I mean, obviously it is fictionalized, like the Pringles can antennas and femtocells and stuff. Like in real life, if you spin up a femtocell, you're gonna get a call from the FCC. Like you're gonna have a bad time. But um yeah, I mean basically like that show I think is also really good. And I know some of the people who did like the technical advising and helped like with the hacker elements of that show, and so that's cool. Um, I guess as like a second call out, I think I would give Silicon Valley a call out too. Not really hacking related, but it is
yeah, yeah,
to
yeah,
me very like there's so many moments in that show that I relate to on a daily basis. So that to me is like kind of a close second.
yeah. Thank you. And your favorite food or dish?
Favorite food, I'm gonna go pizza. It's kind of basic, but I personally love making pizza. I have an outdoor pizza oven in my backyard, and I'll, sling down a bunch of pies and have some friends over. And, it's just, I love how much pizza you can make in a short amount of time. And I also love how pizza is like the universal language. Like, there's so many different ways you could do it. Do you like red sauce? Do you like white sauce? Do you like what kind of cheeses do you like? Do you like pineapple on your pizza? Do you like dessert pizzas? I've made so many different weird pizzas over the years, and it's really fun to mess around with. Um, Even just things like I made a strawberry pizza this year. I made one of my favorites is like pineapple or peach and jalapeno. That's so good
Ooh,
together. Like sesame seeds and ricotta and just kind of like changing it up. That's what I love about pizza is like, yeah, you can do a pepperoni pizza and it's still going to be good, but you can also do like a lemon ricotta sesame seed partially pizza and it's going to be really good. You know what I mean? So that's the fun part of it is like you kind of just make the dough and then you kind of get creative with what you're going to put on top of it. And I like trying different things. Maybe a really spicy pizza, maybe a really, a blue cheese pizza with bacon and pears or something like that. Um, that's I think pizza is my favorite because it really is like it's so adaptable and you can do it in so many different ways that it's like there's no wrong answers. If you like pineapple on pizza, I'm okay with that. If you like weird normal Napoleon, fancy pizza, that's fine too. Like whatever you like.
yeah, but I had like a comment in the chat. I'm going to call the Italians, and because we are mentioning pineapple on pizza, but actually Polish people have a dish that also is a bit offensive to the Italians because we have it's like it's a food from my childhood actually. Uh, it's pasta with strawberries and cream, and it's like sweetened. So it's actually it's surprise.
That sounds delicious. Yeah,
It's
that sounds
surprisingly
really
good.
good.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think the one thing I will say is, if you're gonna do pineapple on pizza, it should be fresh pineapple. Don't use canned
Can
pineapple.
yeah.
Um,
Abomination.
but yeah, I mean, I'm also a fan of like, maybe it's not the best pizza, but it's still pizza, right? So you can that's part of the fun. It's opinions. It's like, well, I think pineapple on pizza is terrible, but other people like it. So it's a fun thing to understand that like not everyone's like you. Different people are different, and that's okay. Like that's part of the fun part of the world
Yeah,
is
actually,
different people like different stuff.
Yeah, actually, that's like a very smart thing to say at the finishing of the podcast, because I believe that everyone sees the world from their own perspective, from their own like experiences, and maybe someone is neurodivergent, someone is like, I don't know, that way or other way. Someone had the tough experiences, and someone else had like an easy life. So everyone sees the world differently, and so we just have to be, like as you said before, kind to others and respectful. And I'm sure we can find like a common ground, and yeah, be friends. Maybe
Exactly.
not everyone can be friends, but we can
Find
still be
someone,
kind, you know,
yeah.
like
You got to find someone who's eating pineapple on pizza, and you got to approach them and say, "What's wrong? How can I help you?" No, I'm just
who
kidding.
hurt you.
Who hurt you? No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, exactly.
Okay, so my last question is, do you have any questions for me? Actually, that's the last question.
Hmm. What are you going to do this weekend? You going to get out of town? You going to go outside, eat some charcuterie boards in the park? I feel like
Yeah,
that's what I imagine when I imagine like what's Dorota doing. I'm imagining you're just taking a basket of things to a park and eating them like cheeses and charcuterie. Is that accurate? What do you actually do?
yeah, that's actually a great idea. I have a forest nearby, and I have a lot of cheese in my fridge, so we could combine those.
There you
And I have a
go.
big board as well, so yeah. Last time I took a picture for LinkedIn with like a lot of cheese on it, with let me grab it, with the new comic books that I got.
Oh yeah.
And
Nice.
it felt like really a bit at the beginning a bit strange to go with the board to my balcony to get like the best lighting, but then it felt like, oh, I actually I could do it more often, like maybe eat it here. Or but what
Nice.
I'm plan to do this week is I'm trying to be more efficient with like the conferences I have planned. So I have like adulting plan to finish the presentations for those conferences. I wanted to buy tickets for DevCon, and like flying tickets for the conferences that I want to go to. So like I have like a schedule, and everything is planned, and then I can go
Yeah.
back, because now I have like a projector, and I have like a screen for like a as big as my wall. First time in my life, so now I'm just binging anime, and now I think maybe this week might be the marathon of Lord of the Rings extended editions or something like that,
Ah,
because like
so
the screen
good.
is so big, like in the cinema. So I'm like, okay, let's bring the
I love
cheeses.
that.
My cat is here, you know. Let's do it.
Yes. That's such a good, I love that. I wish could find people to watch all the Lord of the Rings extended movies with me, because I would totally do that. Like, we've joked, but like there's always one like person in the friend group who's like, I'm out. I can't do it. But then there's also like at least two or three people that are like, yes, let's do it.
Yeah, like I can watch it. Like I watched it maybe like 100 times. I can watch it if you're interested. So I'm down to that. And also like I have like this plan that I really want to do. I saw on Instagram people are doing like marathons with food. So like in the Shire, you eat this and this and this, and then like there with the
Okay.
potatoes in the stew, you have like potatoes. Like Sam is cooking potatoes, so you have nice potatoes, maybe baked or
Ah,
something like that.
okay.
And then maybe
Yeah.
you have like special drinks for that. Yeah, that's like actually what I would like to do, like the marathon like that.
That's a fantastic idea. Yeah, I mean, you just like when you're in the Shire, you just eat like 10 times more
Yeah,
than
yeah, yeah,
you'd want
yeah, yeah,
to,
yeah.
and then you don't eat anything for like 3 hours, but then you eat a lot again. Yeah,
Yeah, and
that's
like
funny.
we are talking about Lord of the Rings, so now I'm chatty. So when I first watched it, I was like, "Oh, my favorite character is Legolas because he was so cool." You know, he was like as a me as a
Sure, an
teenager was
elf.
like he's so
Yeah.
handsome, and like I had, I don't
Sure.
know, like a kind of like a crush on Legolas, but now I'm thinking Sam is my perfect future husband because he loves
Oh, he's
potatoes
great.
I love potatoes. I come from a region of Poland that has like 101 dishes made of potatoes, so that's like yeah, we have something in common
Yeah.
there. I'm joking, but not really.
No, I mean, I think that's the right choice. Elves, they don't have to eat, they don't have to drink. Boring. I want Samwise. Yeah, exactly. He probably knows how to cook. He's just a nice guy, right? He's just
Yeah,
here
yeah,
for it. I
yeah.
think of all the characters, he probably fared the best of anyone, right? He came home happy. He didn't have any weird trauma or issues. He didn't have to go live forever on a boat. He's good to go.
Yeah, he married the girl of his dreams. That was really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. He did the best of everyone.
Yeah. Okay, so I don't have any questions. Thank you for asking the cool question for me. I think I would just
Yeah.
add it. I asked this question first time because I usually finish at the favorite food, but actually it's a good idea to maybe add it to the podcast at the end. Someone maybe wants to ask a question for me. So yeah, I will wrap it up now. So thank you for coming. I really appreciate your
Yeah, thank
time
you.
and sharing the knowledge with us. I had a lot of fun. And if you want to
Me
share
too.
something at the end, then yeah, now is your time.
I don't have anything to share. Thank you for having me. And yeah, have a good weekend.
Yeah, so thank you again. I'm going to wave now, I guess, and see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you again for coming, and I really appreciate your time and coming here. And bye.